It has now gotten to that point that every single lies that they lied, using media, using their faces to lie, is coming into open. A lot of magas are now wondering if a father can literally lie to our faces, can literally twist things just to fit his narrative, what can he not do? Remember, there was a time, not there was a time, why am I saying there was a time? Remember last week, the Orange Man said that they published an article that the Iranians are literally asking for a ceasefire. But he said no, that he is not ready to negotiate. You remember that, right? Right now, the Iranians have gone straight into the media to say things exactly as it is. They said, and I quote, before I allow you guys to hear the remaining things that they said, we have never asked for ceasefire. We have never even asked for negotiation. We were literally sitting on our own. It was not our fault. We were not looking for Americans. He just came for us. And when this man is saying it, you're going to see the passion, the tears in this man's eye. Because when someone is saying something and is paining that person, they don't need to tell you that it's paining that person. And at the end of my stitches I'm going to be making, I'm going to be leaving a lot of Americans' comments for you guys to be able to read and understand as well. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And for disclaimers, this is just for educational purposes, not to defame, rub on anyone's shoulder. This is me giving my own opinionistic opinion. Let me give you the love that you want. Let's go and watch, guys. I'll be back. Okay.
Has Iran asked for a ceasefire?
No, we never asked for a ceasefire, and we have never asked even for negotiation. We are ready to defend ourselves as long as it takes, and this is what we have done so far, and we continue to do that until President Trump comes to the point that this is an illegal war with no victory, and there are people being killed only because President Trump wants to have fun. This is what he has said.
Have fun?
We are not. Yes, this is what he said, that they are sinking, ships and targeting different places because it is fun. And the Secretary of War has said that there is no mercy. Mm-hmm. And this is actually a war crime. Even saying that is a war crime. So this is a war. This is a war of choice by President Trump and the United States, and we are going to continue our self-defense.
Breaking news, our beautiful, lovely, amazing, handsome President Donald Trump confirms
that Iran is begging to reach an agreement, but Trump refuses and says he will not back down. They want to negotiate badly, and that's their right, but I don't think they're ready to do what they need to do. We'll finish the job. Meanwhile, the foreign minister of Iran, Arakchi, stated today, "We have never requested negotiations, and this is a lie." Now, this is what I have been telling y'all. Our beautiful, lovely, handsome president. His words are in one place. His thoughts are in another place. Reality is in a different place, okay? Reality is in a different place. Now, I don't know if we want to attribute this to dementia. I don't know if we want to attribute this to just not accepting the reality for what it is. But whatever the situation is, this is dangerous when we have a habitual liar at the top of our office, not only telling lies to the press, but also misleading the American public. And we've seen this time and time before where politicians will deliberately not tell you what's going on because they don't want to, quote unquote, stir up panic amongst the people. Well, the moment that you entered war, good sir, you stirred up panic amongst the people. Nobody wanted to fight in this war. Nobody agreed with this war. The average American person didn't sign up for this war. And now you even have soldiers that are going against their duties. You have soldiers that are putting their lives and their freedom on the line just to say, no, we don't want to fight in this war. In addition to the panic that's taking place in our U.S. facilities all over the world. This has to stop. The best thing that you could do is stop doing damage control, all right? Recall all of our troops home, call it a day, recalibrate, apologize, give Iran the sanctions pay Iran the reparations that they are asking for, remove the sanctions that they are asking to be removed, remove the bases from the Middle East, and let's focus on America first, especially since your best friend ain't here no more. That's what they saying through the grapevine. That's what they saying through the grapevine, right? But who knows? Who knows? Maybe he got an additional 6 fingers, 7 fingers. Who knows? Having a coffee. But whatever the situation is, it is 1:41 a.m. March 26. But whatever the situation is, this has to stop. This war has to stop. If not, we are going to witness the collapse of the American economy. It is 1:41 a.m. March 16, 2026. Follow me for more breaking news, updates, think pieces, wholesome stories, reads of individuals and situations, and more.
The thing is, we are being lied to about what is going on in Iran. Look at these headlines. I just literally searched Iran and the news. The allies are being rebuffed. Airspace is closing. Trump is asking for help. He's all frustrated. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera, not the most America-friendly outlet in the world, is talking about how the U.S.-Israeli strategy is working. Here's the Middle Eastern professor behind this article, Professor Saloom, literally writing from Doha in Qatar, which is in the neighborhood of Iran, as you notice. He says that the dominant narrative in American outlets is that the United States and Israel just stumbled into a war, totally without a plan. Now Iran is retaliating, oil prices are surging, it's all messed up, and we might be there forever. These assertions are honestly just so wild, I almost have to laugh. It's just crazy where American media has gotten, because when you look at what's actually happened, Iran's military power, like their missiles, their nuclear weapons, their air defenses, their navy, it's all being systematically degraded. It's almost like the most sophisticated military in the world was trying to degrade their military capabilities. So I set out to confirm his assertions with external sources. Here is one saying that Iran's military arsenal is really low already. Another one displaying a nuclear arsenal place that we bombed that they were trying to hide from us. Now we're sending in these huge, slow planes, B-52s with a bunch of bombs on them because we don't have to worry about them getting shot out of the sky because we control the airspace in Iran. Okay, another external source confirming that we are destroying a lot of their navy. Another external source confirming that their navy has had all of their most prominent, important ships destroyed. Now they are reduced to a few submarines and coastal missile launchers. At the beginning, Iran was shooting 350 missiles a day, now 25. They were launching 800 drones a day, now 75. I mean, that's a big drop. And then the American media has the gall to say that the Trump administration didn't know that Iran was going to close the Strait of Hormuz. From what I've learned, it seems like every American administration knows the first thing Iran is going to do is close the Strait of Hormuz. The problem is, that also cuts off their way to make 90% of their country's revenue. And now in Iran, basically all their leadership is messed up because the supreme leader was eliminated. He was coordinating all the terrorist groups. His son is now in power, but that's a dynastic transfer, which is kind of against the Islamic Republic. And the IRGC's leader was killed. So Iran's having some leadership problems. So Iran is out of missiles. Their nuclear sites have been badly damaged, if not totally destroyed. Now we can send B-2 bombers because we control the sky. Their navy has been basically eliminated and their leadership all messed up. Yet American outlets are going to report it like this. As Professor Saloom tells us, that is simply not true. It is working. And I know Trump wanted the FCC to come down on these people, but it's like, what is your agenda? Do you want America to lose? Why can't you just report it?
Breaking news showing that the entry into the war was because Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner were Israeli assets who wanted to attack Iran. This is from the British National Security Advisor. This is not from me. This is not from some random person on the internet. This is from a guy who puts his face on it, who's with the British government, and says that it was the official British government's position and belief, again, that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner were working to benefit the Israelis and not the Americans. and that there was a deal on the table better than the JCPOA, nuclear deal that Obama got, the best deal ever, okay, to basically wipe out voluntarily Iran's nuclear program, and they rejected it. And they walked away because they wanted, on behalf of Israel, to try to destroy Iran, even if it destroyed America in the process. This is treasonous. It's disgusting. And these people who are billionaires and who are corruptly making all this money, and Witkoff and Kushner have also screwed over Ukraine. They care about, what Israel wants. They care about what Russia wants. And they should absolutely spend the rest of their life in prison. And Witkoff has been caught red-handed on actual tapes recorded, I believe, by the European Intelligence Agency of some country or another, telling Kirill Dmitriev, the Russian, a guy working on behalf of Russia, about how to manipulate Donald Trump. He's like working for Russia to screw Ukraine. It's on tape. This is disgusting. I hate these people so much.
So Iran just shot the US dollar, and baby, they didn't miss. Iran fired the most dangerous shot this week of this entire war. And it was not a missile. So let's talk about exactly what the petrodollar is. In 1971, Richard Nixon took America off of the gold standard. The dollar wasn't backed by anything anymore, so the rest of the world said, why should we use it? Then in 1974, America cut a secret deal with Saudi Arabia, which they kept classified until 2016. The deal was that Saudi Arabia would price their oil exclusively in US dollars, and in exchange, the United States of America would provide total military security. It's supposed to be a simple trade, right? Oil in dollars, security in exchange. OPEC followed, and just like that, every country in the world that needed oil, which is every country, had to buy US dollars first. So because oil, the world's most traded commodity, has to be bought in US dollars, every country that imports energy must first acquire US dollars. And every central bank holds dollar reserves for this specific reason. And that has been true for 52 years. That's why America can print money, run up debt, fund its own military operations and projects, and still claim to be the most powerful country in the world. Not because America is the biggest, and not because of anything other than the fact that America owns the checkout counter that every other country has to pass through. But then Iran said, halt. A CNN reporter who was citing a military Iranian official said that Iran is letting oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, except for their enemies, which are the United States of America and is not real, as long as they pay in yuan, Chinese yuan, not the US dollar. And Bloomberg confirmed that a Iranian oil tanker went on through the Strait of Hormuz on March the 15th, bound for China. So China, India, Turkey, they can all pass through the Strait of Hormuz, but the USA, and is not real, cannot. And here's why this is the most dangerous thing that Iran has done, even more dangerous than closing the Strait of Hormuz straight up. So international buyers are now faced with a choice. They either comply with US financial regulations and face a catastrophic energy shortage, or they embrace the yuan and secure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Dollar, yuan. So it's up to them, USA or China. Like, they got to make a choice. So basically, every country on earth that has to pass through the Strait of Hormuz is going to have to make a choice. And every choice that decides we're going to take the safe passage and get discount and pay you your yuan is taking a shot at the United States and taking a shot at the petrodollar. So if the yuan takes over oil trade, America's ability to borrow cheaply is going to weaken. The petrodollar system meant that oil producing countries had to take their US dollar and they would buy government bonds, US government bonds with them. This gave the United States cheap loans to pay for hospitals, military, and for schools. So if fewer dollars are coming back to America through oil, because oil trade is now being processed through yuan and not the American dollar, that means that the United States government has to pay higher interest rates, and there's not enough money left for everything else. That means less money for hospitals, less money for schools, less money for the military. And for us Americans, it means higher interest rates for your mortgage, higher prices on everything else. That's literally not a theory. That is the math. That's what's going to happen. So this 50-year deal that we had with Saudi Arabia, it expired in 2024, and Saudi Arabia decided not to renew it. Saudi Arabia now said that they would accept the yuan, they would accept the euro, and online money for oil. They would rather take digital money yuan and the euro, then take the US American dollar. So Saudi Arabia, America's original petrodollar partner, already walked away from the exclusive dollar deal in 2024. No big announcement, no press conference, just quietly said, you know what? We're good. And then Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. And then Iran also said, you know what? Only yuan. One analysis said that the petrodollar didn't die in March 2026. It was on life support. And when Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, they basically just took it off the life support. So is the petrodollar dead? I mean, it's getting there. But this change isn't going to happen all at once. It's going to happen with every tanker that gets let through with exchange of yuan. It's going to happen with every yuan that they pay. Every country that chooses the safety discount over the war premium of the American US dollar. The United States of America spent 52 years making sure that every country needed its dollar to purchase oil. And Iran basically just showed the entire world that there is another checkout counter. Not just the US. Y'all don't have to go to that window. Y'all can come over here and check out. So I don't know. Do y'all think the petrodollar is dead? Is this the death of the United States dollar?
Let's break down why no one has ever attacked Iran and why they say that it is not like any other Middle Eastern country. And part 2 on why this will be really bad for the American empire. I do not see Iran stopping anytime soon, despite calls for a ceasefire. It's because Iran does not trust diplomacy with the United States and Israel. Last year, when Iran was negotiating with Israel and the United States, during negotiation, Israel hits Iran. And then again in 2026, during negotiations, the United States and Israel bombs Iran again. So Iran does not trust a ceasefire or negotiations with the United States or Israel. And it will be Iran's goal to make sure that these countries can never attack Iran again. Now, why is the United States doing this? At the fall of every empire, you see sloppiness, you see nepotism, and you see arrogance. We saw this with the fall of the Roman Empire, the Spanish Empire, the collapse of the Soviet Union. It was no longer about meritocracy. When Trump fired dozens of senior career diplomats, 1,300 State Department employees, many of whom were Middle East and counter-terrorist experts. When the FBI fires counterintelligence agents with expertise in Iran, this is what it looks like to lose regional expertise that was built over decades. That deep knowledge of the region disappears. You get weaker intelligence analysis, and you'll rely more on political advisors instead of subject matter experts. And before I get into why no one has ever attacked Iran in the modern political climate, I just want to say that I do not support the Islamic Republic. And I also do not support the bombing of my country, I'm Iranian, by the United States and Israel. I've seen what US liberation looks like in Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria. Do I have hope that maybe something good may come of this? Of course, I'm human. But rarely do you see freedom delivered by the oppressor. Okay, now let's get into the country of Iran. It is fundamentally different than the Gulf states, which includes Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait. Politically, most of these Gulf states are really new countries. UAE was founded in 1971. Qatar and Bahrain got their independence in 1971. Kuwait in 1961. And Saudi Arabia is a modern kingdom formed in 1932. These states are largely monarchies built by ruling families. Also, the modern state of Israel is younger than Al Pacino. Now, Iran is old. It is a 3,000-year-old civilization, Persia. It had empires long before modern Europe existed. It has a very strong national identity with really deep roots. It has a very educated population. Iran also sits at one of the most strategic locations on Earth. It controls the northern side of the Strait of Hormuz, and that is where roughly 20% of the world's oil passes. Iran has essentially shut it down. And it's not just oil, it's things like fertilizer and medicine. And when the US says that it will use Navy ships to escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, Iran is beginning to lay mines as well as use drones to bring down any ships in that area. Iran also continues to bomb the oil terminals of these GCC states. Another important thing to know about Iran is that it has this revolutionary ideology. Gulf monarchies, on the other hand, are just interested in economic development, stability, and making sure the ruling class stays in power. Iran's government, however, was born from a response against Western intervention. In 1953, the United States and Britain overthrew a democratically elected secular leader in Iran because he wanted to nationalize oil instead of having most of the profits go into British petroleum. This event shaped Iranian politics for generations to come. And the Islamic Revolution of 1979 was in part because of this history. So it is ideologically based on resisting this foreign interference. So now this brings me to the military structure of Iran. Now, before we get into the structure, I want to briefly talk about what happened in Afghanistan and the number of insurgents necessary to resist against the US military. The war in Afghanistan lasted 20 years. So at its peak, they had 90,000 fighters. These were mostly Taliban that were able to push away a successful US occupation. And all of this cost the US $2 trillion. Now let's look at Iran's numbers. So the Artesh, which is the conventional national military, that has about 350,000 active personnel. And then you have the IRGC, which is separate from the regular army. They have about 190,000 active personnel. And under this IRGC, you have the Quds Force. They are in charge of foreign operations and the proxy networks in the Middle East. So Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen. And then you have the Basij, which is the paramilitary force. The active personnel is around 90,000, and there are a bunch of reserve volunteers, up to 1 million. They are more in charge of internal security and protest suppression. So think of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who was arrested by the Basij for not wearing a hijab. She was unalived by the Iranian government in custody, and this ignited the Woman Life Freedom movement. So Iranians' active military personnel is over 600,000. Compare that to the 90,000 that it took to successfully push out the US troops over 20 years. Combine that with how Iran is covered by mountains. So this is just a few of the reasons why no one has ever attacked Iran. And while there's nothing in the world that I would want more than a free Iran for my people, I have a pit in my stomach because I feel what is to come. There are very dangerous men on both sides just dancing with everybody's life. We as humans really need to grapple with how we got here, especially when almost every human I know wants the same things, wants to be cared, loved, take care of their family, their children, their friends, live in peace, live in harmony. When you take the propaganda away, it's almost always the same. All the while, the US taxpayers are paying $1 billion a day, when most are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have enough money for food, healthcare, and I think there are no more words left for me.
So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is going to teach the United States a lesson.
War. It is because this time the war must end in such a way that our enemies will never again think of repeating these attacks and this aggression. And I believe that even now they have already learned a good lesson. They've understood what kind of nation they are dealing with, one that has no hesitation in defending itself and is prepared to continue the war as far as necessary and take it wherever it must go.
The top counter-terrorism official in the United States has walked out in protest against the war on Iran. This is what Joe Kent writes. After much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, effective today. So this is Tuesday. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no immediate threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. So it's a big accusation he's making. He goes on talking about how he's a veteran and a Gold Star husband who lost his wife in what he calls a manufactured war by Israel. He says, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost of American lives. We'll await to hear what the White House and President Trump has to say about this. So far, haven't heard anything from them.
Turns out there's a lot of reason why Iran should hate us. We took their freedom, and we don't get told that. And so Americans get fed this false objective, story, particularly about global South countries, Muslim countries, African countries, that makes you believe a false narrative that tries to justify our actions. Yeah. Iran has reasons to hate us since 1953. We overthrew their government. We took away their freedom and imposed a Shah on them. Why do they have the Shah of Iran? That's what got me interested in news.
And then
this story.
Ayatollah
Khomeini.
He was always there. You're like, this evil dude.
And we were just told he's just evil. But what we weren't told is that when the Shah was in place for 20 something years, as he's brutally, viciously oppressing his people, the organizing against him took place in mosques. It's the only place that people could meet without being surveilled. So it became a religious-led movement because of that. We are the reason that the religious people, the religious Muslims in that case, it's a majority Muslim country, they're the ones who were organized to overthrow the Shah. That's why we had mullahs. We had mullahs because of us. And we don't get told that because that's an inconvenient narrative. That guy dies, this guy Khamenei takes over. We're just told he's just diabolically evil. Now, I'm not saying that that regime is not bad. But by the way, our regime is not good. Our regime has secret police. They have secret police. Our regime is oppressing women, taking away abortion rights, taking away women's rights in like 26 states, some states where they're trying to have the death penalty for having an abortion. They also oppress women. They have the highest rate of women who are in STEM careers. We're kicking women out of the military, out of university. We're saying that DEI means women can't be hired for high positions in the sciences. We're marginally better. And we're doing it for Christianity, they're doing it for Islam, right? Yeah. So it's like we don't get told those things because it would take away the kind of American exceptionalism narrative that makes it easy to take our people and send them off to die in a war that we have nothing to do with, that we don't want. And so I have a problem with the news media not providing context so people understand why these oligarchs are sending our kids off to die in Iran. Why are we doing what Israel says? We need context around that. Israel oppressed the Palestinian people since really 1967, you could say 48, when they drove 750,000 Palestinians out of their homes in the West Bank. Many of them drove them to Gaza. These people grew up in refugee camps. They've never had their own state, the state that was promised to them by the UN. They're living in an open air prison where they can see the sea, they can see the beautiful ocean, but if they go out into it, an Israeli warship might actually shoot and kill them. That happened when Ayman Mohyeldin, my colleague, was standing on the beaches of Gaza. Some kids were kicking around a soccer ball and they got shot dead by an Israeli warship that killed them in front of him. Whoa. And what happened was his coverage of it and his passion as a half Palestinian person himself, he is considered the bad guy, that he's not objective. You know, that's what objectivity does to us. So I feel like the news media is failing because they're not telling us why people are doing things.
The context that you're talking about, because the context is so important in how it's delivered. And you said something too, the inconvenient truth. We're not getting the full picture because it's an inconvenient truth. So who the heck is running the media to where you're trying to, why is it an inconvenient truth? Because I found that interesting. You said that, like, who's it inconveniencing?
Oligarchs. Yeah. You know, we have oligarchs just like Russia has oligarchs. They own our media. Jeff Bezos, the Ellison brothers, you know, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook and Meta. Yeah. You name it. All of these oligarchs, they have, and if they have a news organization in the company, it's not the main business. Jeff Bezos his company has military contracts. The Washington Post is just one of the little businesses he owns. Amazon is much more important to his bottom line. He doesn't care if you're getting the truth from the Washington Post. He wants the Washington Post to not get in the way of his other business. Yeah. So he needs the Washington Post to report in a way that doesn't piss Donald Trump.
We have a big news update right now. Donald Trump is suggesting making Venezuela the 51st state of the United States. Trump claimed to have spoken to a former president about striking Iran. All 4 living former presidents say they have no idea what he's talking about. And Israel says it has killed Iran's security chief, Ali Larijani. Here's the latest. So this is what Trump said about Venezuela overnight, after Venezuela defeated Italy in the WC semifinal. Quote, statehood 51, anyone? The people of Venezuela don't want to become part of the United States, by the way. He's like a comedian testing out content. If people like this, he's going to continue saying it. And the joke eventually becomes real. Meanwhile, according to NBC News, they've spoken to all 4 former presidents. Not one says that they ever spoke to Donald Trump about Iran. Now, Trump, on his part, has been claiming over the past 24 hours that he spoke to a former president, and the former president said, I wish I struck Iran. And as I said, maybe that former president is the 45th president, Donald J. Trump. He spoke to himself, maybe. And then finally, Israel claims this morning that it has killed Iran's national security chief, Ali Larijani, one of the top Iranian officials currently in office, or rather now formally in office. Spread the word, follow for more.
They have never asked for a negotiation. They have never asked for ceasefire. Yet, the media made us to believe. The media made us to see every single thing that will suit into their narratives. It is so sad that this general father that is supposed to be protecting his children really do not mind putting them in the lion's den for the lion to devour them. It is that sad. And that is why I honestly do not blame the NATOs that said, we are not supporting him. The EU, we are not supporting him. It is not our fight. He has called on different countries to help. Even Israel have gone to the point of calling on Ghana to help because they want to make this World War III. But nobody is succumbing. Just recently, we are speculating that Russians might even join Iran with every single thing they are posting online. It didn't just end there. We've seen China joining hands to support them. Right now, if you want to sail through the Strait of Hormuz, you have to pay using the Chinese currency, which is yuan, instead of the United States dollar that they were using. It didn't only end there. A lot of countries are passing through hell right now just because one person decides to support somebody that is none of our business. It didn't only end there. Recently, North Korea also said that they are going to be joining forces with Iran. These are not Iranians asking them to join forces with them. But these are these people looking at Iranians and be like, since you were sitting on your own, because if there is anybody they should expect to start up a fight, to start up a war, it should be the Iranians. But they didn't do it. They were sitting on their own. And then we have somebody just wake up from nowhere and want to put hand in their eyes. Do you think that Iranians will just keep their eyes open for that to happen? Your own cabinet, your own people are resigning off their duties. Military men are resigning, are quitting in droves. Still, it is not an eye-opening for this man to sit down, reflect on himself, and be like, I think I need to take one step backward. These people never came for my country. No matter what they are having with the Israelis, they should go sort themselves out. Do you get my point? But no, this man will never do that. He will do what he thinks it is best for him and what is best for his friendship. And that is why a lot of Americans are speculating. And right now, I begin to understand why they are speculating that there is something that this Prime Minister of Israel is literally holding against the orange man, that is making the orange man act the way he's acting. Those are not my words. Those are the words of Americans. Because they have seen that in everything that we are trying to do, this man wants to bring us backward just because of one person. You think he is just going to do that just because he's a friend to the Israel president? There is something that leads to something. And a lot of Americans are speculating and they are saying, why is it that when we were talking about the Epstein list, the Epstein file, that is when this man decided to pick up a war with Iran and then have to involve the president himself. Meanwhile, the president, all this while, has been keeping the story of the Epstein file one place. He don't want to release the files. And even when we talk, even when we scream, the moment the internet wants to buzz about the Epstein file, that is when you see this man bringing different articles to distract every single person. How can I be a president and my people are going through the worst routes and I cannot sit down and reflect and tell myself is a no-no? You see the comments I posted even before I started dropping my commentaries? These are just few comments. If I want to post comments about what Americans are saying, In fact, I can post comments of over 1 hour video that will not be enough. Just comments alone. If you just want to be reading comments. That's because a lot of Americans are not happy. A lot of Americans are saying, we do not stand with this man. We do not stand with him. We do not bargain for this. We do not pray for this. All what we are seeking for, we are looking for is peace. We were never involved in this. Up to the point that this man will make decisions without even considering the fate of his people. This man will make decisions without even thinking what will be the disadvantage. You know, I believe before a president should wake up one morning and say something, he should be able to sit down and reflect. If I do this, what will literally be the disadvantage or the advantage for me? But all through this war, getting to, I don't think it's up to a month yet, it has been sad news upon sad news upon sad news for the Americans. Even his own fellow MAGAs have been crying. I posted a video where one of the one MAGA fan said that even as he's talking right now, he don't even have up to $5 in his pocket. But it is not enough reason for this man to see, understand, and now say, okay, let's take one step backward. No, he is going to do what suits him, because that thing between him and this Israeli man, if they are not done with that thing, they will not literally have peace. But anyways, who am I and what do I know? Allegedly, credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. Let me know your honest thoughts in the comment section. And I want to say a very big thank you for every single one of you liking, commenting, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And thank you so much, guys, for staying stick and hook with me to the end of this video. And yes, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys, I love you guys. Mwah.